Well, hello. Happy Sunday, everybody. Crusty Old Crow back. And I'm going to talk to you about this G.I. Joe original line back in 1992 and how it compares against the G.I. Joe classified line, what we see today, what's coming out, what we could expect. You hear the music in the background? I felt it fitting for 92. It seems like Joe was coming to a realization of where they stood in the grand scheme of the toy market back in 92. You saw in 91, I alluded they were starting to get a little rough. 92, they're starting to fade away. And I think we'll just leave Broken Cowboy off in the background. I can't say enough about that song by the Dead South, another Canadian band. Plug, plug, plug. Krusty Crow does that on the tactical perspective. Right enough with the mellow tone, guys. There's that camera bob again. Yeah, 92, I was looking at it there over the last couple of days, and I was like, geez, you're going to go right to the 94 end, Ryan, with this, the 3 and the 3/4 inch or whatever scale they were, and comparing them to the classified, because even the 92 line, we have a representation of it already in our figures in Nunchuck. He came out there in the one of the more recent waves, probably the more recent wave. And I managed to get a nunchuck. I was happy to do so. You can still see them at Toys R Us and GameStop here in Ottawa, and starting to become a little bit more frequent. When he first came out, it was harder to get than any other figure in the wave here in Stittsville area. But this is my legendary two left foot nunchuck. Get a good look. Okay, so the Crow does get the quality control issues. And you've heard the Crow talk about it enough, but the Crow accepts certain quality control issues, just as he accepts he's a klutz. Live on one takes all the time, right? So, 92 gave us actually a lot less, guys, in this line, so I can kind of talk about it a little bit more. It won't be the hour-long videos that other years were. But what we got in 92 was actually better than what we had seen, in my opinion, as far as Hasbro's endeavors in the more recent years, with, say, perhaps the 1990 line or the 91 line. So what did we get in 92, and what was going on, guys? So in 92, let's remember a couple things. The Crow tactical perspective with these videos, I like to, when I'm doing the comparatives, I like to set you back in that year. And just remember the top song in 92. That was The End of the Road by Boys to Men. So Crow finds this one a little easy to tie together with Joe, because the Joes can see it. They were going uphill through 88 and 89. They had a market, they had some fans, but things weren't getting any easier as they tried new concepts to appeal to new markets. And part of the appeal of some of those characters, and I say things like Battle Force 2000 in the earlier years, I feel were more of a nod to what was going on in the arcade games and some of the characters that were being popularized there. Shiny characters with lots of big firepower guns and fancy armor, not necessarily tied to anything of current relevance or relatability in the real world. So Joe was experimenting with that in the previous years, and they kind of stopped more. They slowed that right down in 92, and they limited their release run. But End of the Road for Joe was very visible coming. The top movie at the time was actually Batman Returns, and I liken that more to Joe in that Batman comes back because Joe's down and he sees an opportunity to, and he brings in his own colorful cast of characters in the sequel, and it's a new way of looking at Batman. We had Michael Keaton Batman, but now we had George Clooney Batman, and we had Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, and Danny DeVito Penguin, and we were going to get more of this as the Batman universe started to broaden up and other characters, and the comic movies began popularizing. Comics were at a high momentum in the 90s. They were selling like hotcakes, variant covers, everything like this. All of us that grew up with Joes, a lot of us shifted over to collecting other things, and comics were among them. So yeah, Batman, I think I could tie it to Joe as in Batman kicked him while he was down. kicked Joe right in the ribs while he was down and helped keep him down. But let's not put the blame completely on any one of the movies or any particular line. It actually had very little to do with action figures that was seeing the end, guys. We were coming out of a very competitive era through the 80s where Joe's and boy and girl toys were a little bit balanced. So the girls had Barbie and they had Cabbage Patch. For several years, this was the most popular toy on the market. And Joe's, they had no fail. They had Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers, all that stuff. Thundercats, Voltron. Yeah, you name them. We had them, right? Mask, another one. Teddy Ruxpin, later in the 80s started taking popularity. Then these Cush balls started taking popularity. But our action figures were safe right up till that. Even then, our action figures were safe as they introduced little things like robots. But the robot in the foreground was not the real threat. What was the real threat was what was behind it. This thing would change everything for that toy market. And in the 90s, we had to start dealing with Nintendo coming out. And now the play aspect of everything was changing, guys. We used to see this only for Atari, and Atari was limited playtime, limited interest, limited games, and you would still go outside and go play, but Nintendo would change everything. You would all get together at a friend's house, and you would play maybe Joe for 5 minutes, and then he would turn on Duck Hunt or Super Mario, and that became your afternoon. And like I said, it all starts with Atari when your dad and uncle were playing and hogging the controller and saying, one day you'll get your turn. And then you did. And then that advanced to Nintendo. But remember the days where we didn't have Nintendo. These were our Saturday mornings. These were our Christmas days. Unwrapping Joe, playing with Joe. I don't know how that kid actually feels about his Joe. It's a hard expression to read. I want to see a face sculpt for a classified line that's showing that question, like, what the hell am I holding? Oh, I apologize for that Bob camera, guys. The new stand isn't everything I dreamt of, but it's better than the old one. Oh, right, and then you got play sets with Joe and things like that now have limited interest, and every kid went from playing with their action figures. The TV was not the focus in this picture, right? And you would go to toy stores and dream of playing with this stuff or this stuff, right? But then you become an adult and you revisit this stuff because in between, video games took over the market. Going outside and playing with Joe was replaced by hours of side-scrolling adventures with Mario and Luigi. Going outside and playing your Jets, you only went outside to go to someone else's house to go play Nintendo at that point. So I think at that point we understand what 92 was looking like, and so let's talk about the single figures release, because I actually like a lot of the figures in 92. I hadn't seen them before because 92 was well past when I was collecting, and as the 50-year-old armed forces veteran that I am, the Crow is revisiting the Joe, and he loves learning this new stuff. That's why I like my small subscriber market. The way it is, it's fine. We can grow it, but I'm really happy with this 100. I think we're at 120 plus now, and I'm good. You know, we can go 200, but this feels more like what I'm familiar with, this small group of people and talking to, you know, a group of people that I recognize out there. And I recognize some of you guys and who you tell me you are. I feel I know some of you, like through 50 years, I've met guys like you. So I'm just trying to go long-winded saying, I know some of you are younger than me. I never visited your line. I never saw your 92 line. And some of you are big fans. I actually got a comment the other day on my last video about how Big Ben and all the guys from that line, even the Eco Viper, were favorites of the guy. Right, so credit where credit is due. Just because the TAC perspective has one perspective he verbalizes a lot, doesn't mean I don't respect what you like. All right, so and I like some of this. First up, we had this guy, Barricade, coming into the line, and he was like this. What was his rule? I had it written here. Barricade's rule. Crow gets his glasses every time, late to the game. Barricade was a bunker buster, right? So a guy that charges in and clears defensive positions and fortified positions, right? So you got that. You got Big Ben, or not Big Ben, Big Bear, another October Guard. And you know how the Crow wants to see more October Guard out there in the classified line. You got Destro. You got a new Duke. there's that armor for our boy, right? Which boy is that? Sorry. That is the bunker. Yeah, bunker buster guy. Sorry, some of these photos came out of line. So just with him, let's make sure I'm not talking out of turn on him. What was my 3 picks? You guys know I'm going to give you a Joe pick, I'm going to give you a Cobra pick, and I'm going to give you a vehicle pick at some point. But I'm just going to move it on the line to stay on track. So there was your, pardon me. These were the figures you got. So there was our what was his name again? Barricade. And he looks kind of like a Marvel superhero or a DC superhero more than a Joe. Kind of colorful, but oh well. And then you got your Big Bear October Guard with the weapons that he had. Again, over-the-top big accessories. Even during 92, you got almost a classic-looking re-envisioning of Destro with a McDonald's toy, it seems. And there's your re-envisioning Duke. Again, could have come in a Happy Meal set. He's supposed to sit on this. It's supposed to launch. There's no innuendo or metaphors going on here, but Red Rocket, Red Rocket. What else did we get? A better look at the figure. I mean, the figure wasn't terrible, but the accessories, definitely not something the crow crowed about. So, let's go. Who dat? Hawk is down. Hawk strategically withdrew from the stage. Cool. I'll find us on it later. So that's what I'm always up against, guys. Things dropping, right? So, we also got a second version or another version of the Cobra Eel there with the sharks. And when I see that, all I can think of is that came out in 92. Austin Powers didn't come out till 97. But he had his laser sharks and he never knew. He never freaking knew about the laser sharks. Right? That was in the Joe line. I thought that was an interesting. A robotic shark that shoots missiles. Very bright colors. Not something I would choose for a classified line right now, please, but not something I wouldn't think that Hasbro wouldn't put their best efforts in and probably redeem a lot of how I felt about it. I just don't know about that color scheme for the eel after what we had. We also, speaking of color schemes and characters, we have Firefly, and we got a green jungle variant. The Firefly almost looks like Nunchuck. Hi, I'm Nunchuck. I have 2 left feet. Don't judge me. Back to Destro. We got that, and again, we also got the Flak Viper. Who else did we get? And General Flag. You know, this is well after the playset was released for him. So why not? If you didn't get around to the playset, your parents couldn't afford one, you could still get a flag. And I like that appeal of being able to go back and get characters if you couldn't afford that vehicle that they came with. There was your Firefly. Right, not a bad fig, but I certainly wouldn't associate that with our Saboteur that we have right now. There's your Flak Viper with anti-air missiles and all this other accoutrements. Could Hasbro make something work out of that? Probably. I mean, sure. Viper. Everything could be a Viper, right? And then, yeah, so there's your General Flag with some sort of accessory there that I'm not quite sure how that all operated. We also got Gung Ho in that line. It was a new version 3 variant to go with our Marine Dress 1. Very patriotic Gung Ho, ready for war, apocalypse now kind of stuff going on there. Whoa, yeah. More Gung Ho. Let me unseize my screen. Do I want to copy or share? I'm sharing it right now, so stop asking me that. Another version of wetsuit with more accessories, different color scheme. Not bad. A Wild Bill, colors. Yep, not bad. So there was, which guy was that? Gung Ho? Yeah, that's Gung Ho. Whoa. Pardon my camera, guys. Staff of one take. You guys know what to expect. Gung Ho comes with a flag. It's weird. Gung Ho comes with a flag, but Flag did not. All right, there's your new, I think it's Roadblock or Heavy Duty. Who did I have on that list? I think it was Heavy Duty. Big Bear, Master of Skies, General, Cutter. Gung Ho Roadblock, pardon me. It was a new Roadblock. It was a more preferable, I think, Color scheme for Roblox simpler. T-shirt and jeans. Big old belt buckle. Right? But he had that projector toy as well that came with it. And like I said, not a big fan. But there is a good Roblox sculpt. Right? Yeah. But do I really want to see another Roadblock right now? Probably not so much. Not to say never, but just not right now. We have a Tiger Force one on the way already, and we already had, what, 3 out there before that? There's your wetsuit, but I still prefer the older style wetsuit, which we have not yet seen. Wild Bill is an interesting subject because Wild Bill currently only sits with the HasLab project for the Dragonfly. If any of you are funding that right now, you will expect a G.I. Joe classified Wild Bill. Well, some of us will have been waiting for another opportunity. So we see this repaint as possibly, maybe down the line, another opportunity for someone to get Wild Bill without buying the HasLab Dragonfly at that large but probably well-deserved price tag. Maybe a little more than deserved. I don't know. I've never bought a HasLab. They're out of my price range, but that's all he came with. There we go. Oh dear. Sorry about that. And for those of you that are tracking the Dragonfly project or are expecting it, there's your Wild Bill you're going to be getting. Oh, look at these glorious thematic storyboard pictures featuring Bill just being Bill, and we all love it. And there's the tier unlocks that we've seen so far. So you had Wild Bill and Glenda and Ripcord, Night Force version of Ripcord Glenda, as we know, a character that is using the current retro Scarlet body, but it was always Scarlet's body. They just at the last second decided to use Glenda. And on that, we'll get to touch on that for a second here. So on the retro Scarlet, if you guys check out Viper Island, they put in a new video today, sent out some updates on some of the retro line. We're seeing what the retro Scarlet and Duke are looking like now, as well as the Rakondo. It's worth getting excited about, and the sculpt really works in my opinion. I'm not going to talk too much about it. That's their lightning, I'm the thunder. You'll hear me later. So then we got, the rest of the Dragonfly picks. Oh, so worth the hype though, right? Oh man, if I won the Lotto Max or 649 or any of those things, I would definitely buy in for it. But till then, your happiness is all that matters. Show me your Dragonflies when you get them. Add them to your His Tank photos, you jerks. There you go. And guys, I have provided my email on request. If you guys do want to send pics or anything, or just send me a message talking about your Joe experience or your military experience, if that's you. That's Crazy Legs, by the way. Just ask me for the email. I'll put it there. I'll get it to you. Okay, interesting in 92, another premise came out, and I was very excited about that. And that was the Drug Elimination Force, the DEF. So this was Joe trying to find new frontiers besides dinosaurs and ecological disaster and sky forces and blah, 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 blah. They now go into the DEF. So you had Bulletproof, who was their leader. You had Cutter, our hovercraft driver. Of course, he would fit in a Miami drug boat kind of situation. So get him on there. DEF makes perfect sense. And then their enemy were the headhunters, apparently. I didn't follow too much. I haven't read up too much, but this is the drug cartels. The go-between, I guess. The other big enemy out there on the war on drugs in the 90s. Trying to create a new villain besides just Cobra, I guess. And then Headman, their leader. This was your main villain for them, right? Their kingpin. Very much reminiscent of an old gangster design, wearing a old Spirit or Green Hornet mask appeal. And Mutton Junkyard were in that line, but we all know that we're getting our Mutton Junkyard coming soon. The pre-orders are up, and I expect to see it very soon in the new year. And who else was that? Shockwave, a maskless version of Shockwave. And that's interesting that they did that, because now it makes me question if the Shockwave I got in my classified should have had a maskless head sculpt, right? But that would, I guess, push it over to the deluxe figure, as we talk about what defines how much kit can you throw in one classified figure that's going to separate it from a regular release to a deluxe release. But yeah, Shockwave was there. Barbecue was there. But Barbecue came in as an eco warrior, so instantly It goes back to my theory. Why can't barbecue just get some love? Why do we keep doing things to barbecue and then leaving them all alone to look dumb? Uh, and I don't mean dumb, but look unliked, unattended to. Deep Six was in that line. Different ways to market Deep Six. Then we got into zombies, and I can't slam Toxo zombies right now because as much as I hate this premise of it, it is essentially what we're getting with the mole troopers that we're seeing in the Night Force story arc in the line, going with that dark energon story. These minor troopers that have zombie-like features. Clearly, they've been exposed to something, and so I can't slam that line right now. Again, this could be someone's favorite out there, and I gotta recognize that, but certainly no appeal for me for any of that stuff. All right, so where does that take us down to? Yeah, we had a point about some of the Ninja Force. Okay, so Ninja Force came out at that time as well. And this is why you see Nunchuck, because this is where he comes in. So you had Dice. Whoa, pardon me while Dice. And then Dojo, who looks more Spanish matador or wrestler than Ninja, in my opinion. But okay. Nunchuck, who we have. Yay, Nunchuck. What's up? 2 left feet. Who is that? That was Tejabang. I don't know how to say that. Again, he looks more like a luchador than a ninja, but sure. Of course, they were led by Storm Shadow, and there's where you see the earlier Storm Shadow that we recognize from early in the classified line, and I was glad to see that. Gave me more reason to talk about 92. We also got the talking battle troops here. So Cobra Commander had a talking version. Who's that? Hawk? Yeah, Hawk had one. So did the Bat Leader and Stalker. And I joked about those before, how terrible they must have sounded. But you can even see now they've got their phrases. It's party. Right? Just terrible toys, I thought. But did any of you guys have them? Were they as bad as I'm projecting here? Because I feel like they must have been terrible. Cobra Ninja Viper was your mail away in 1992. Viper. Even Ninjas, Vipers. I imagine that file card, if I could read it, would say, if a ninja was successful enough, they might be honored to be picked to be a Viper as well, right? And it's like, if you're a ninja, do you need to upgrade any way, shape, or form? You're a effing ninja. Of course you don't. And I know that argument would get some support. Playsets and vehicles. Okay, we're looking at a new Jet Joe headquarters in 92. They were only going to pump so much plastic in this line for accessories for a limited figure release. You got the Barracuda mini sub in there. You got the Earthquake plow. And again, this one, these things, did that one do it? Yeah. They were starting to squirt and shoot things. Squirt and shoot, squirt and shoot, squirt and shoot. Not a great combination in my opinions, but a lot of kids, especially the younger ones, probably had a blast knocking their Joes over with water, I'm sure. Some realistic jets started coming into line, but in my eyes, it was too little too late for the people that were wanting that. I don't know, but that was probably a big appeal for the guys who thought they were going to make their army realistic again after the predecessing or the earlier lines. Where did we leave off? But that didn't stop us from getting some glorified sci-fi, Mad Max, whatever, in the Parasite. And, of course, everyone's favorite money expenditure when you're recollecting Joes is go get yourself a rat, go get yourself a whole hive of rats, and enjoy your toy. I think there was a high opinion on the rats. I'm just kidding, guys. I have never seen anyone talk highly of the rat, just that they have the rat. The Patriot also came out. Looks like a little bit of a construction vehicle almost, with a bit of a snow articulated traveling qualities there. But it reminds me of a Bobcat. Another realistic jet in the Storm Eagle, dealing with a lot of what we have now. And this one also has water blasting action, which is great. You know, a lot of our fighter jets need more water blasting action, and Joe was on top of that. You guys heard me talk about the Air Commando gliders, and the last video I did for 1991, I said, go ahead, Hasbro, make one of these. Just do it. Make it for the classified line. Flex your creative muscles, flex your quality muscles, because if people are starting to think those are just show muscles and not fighting muscles, and show them what you're capable of. Take a product that represented the worst of your line in most, I would say most people's opinion, but at least my opinion, and make it one of the most desirable deluxe sets you could on the retail market, just to show you can do stuff like that. Again, no one expects it to fly. So we got those. Then we got the nonsensical gyrocopters continuing from the previous year with a couple more options. I am not a fan of gyrocopter, but I am proud of them for doing at least like a small, 60s design airframe to support its directional movement. That's fine. And then Joe punched me right in the gonads with this one. They took that beautiful Awe Striker, which I'd love to see move to classified line, and they turned it into a desert form dune buggy squirt gun machine. Sorry about the camera bob again, folks, but what are you going to do? Colors wise, I have zero opinion on this thing. I just makes me love the original Awe Striker that much more, but the Eco Striker had its place in Joe. And then another playset was the Eco Toxo Lab. And to me, this was one step away from Nickelodeon goo and putting a Play-Doh squeeze out of Cobra Commando's mouth or something. It just wasn't working for me. And then they pull out this. This was their follow-up to the Eco Lab. An AH-64 Apache helicopter, like a very specific helicopter, not a Joe fiction, an actual AH-64 Apache helicopter with lights and noises. So as much as I love the HasLab Dragonfly, if Hasbro were to turn around and make a common AH-64 helicopter for Joe line, no pilot, no bells and whistles, just the helicopter as per classified, and they priced that at under $200, I would of course buy that. Of course you would. If somebody asks you if you want an Apache helicopter, the answer is always yes, right? Especially if they go, do you want an Apache helicopter or do you want the Toxo Lab? Well, I'll take the Apache, thanks, bye. Anyways, and then Ford America, which is so much. There's so many things going on at Ford America, but I'm just like, okay, so we had some unhappy employees that wanted to talk about the downcline of America, I guess. I don't know what they wanted. So where does that take us? Well, I think I covered the line. You'll notice the absence of those silly little accessory packs and those dollar store grabs and other things in this line. They're not there. Hasbro wasn't going to pour much money in them because they're not going to compete with the Nintendo anymore. They realize kids have changed and that the toy game is different now. Nintendo just followed our Atari and ColecoVision and all them and did it better, and now kids were hooked. So Hasbro had to look at their number one money grabber in the early 80s and realize that it couldn't hold on much longer in the 90s. It had a good shelf life, but they'd seen this before, guys. Like I had said in my last video, this was not new. They'd been here in the 60s and the 70s, and now they're coming out of the 80s into the 90s, going through it again. It's not the end of the world, because here we are in the G.I. Joe Classified line. How many YouTubers are talking about G.I. Joe Classified right now? All of them. How many? All of them. Okay? There's something going on with Joe since COVID. Classified picked it up in COVID, and Classified really brought the game up over the last years. Coming out of COVID, people started finding out more about Classified, enough so that the line could start expanding and really getting it good. And then these photographs start circulating, and guys start talking about collecting the Joes, and people start really looking at them now. Guys, they're starting to get harder and harder to get when they get released, because more and more people are getting excited. Don't believe me? Try and find G.I. Joe 301 out here right now, the comic book. There is a quiet market of the guys, because it went to Skybound, who's the owner of Skybound is Robert Kirkman, who invented the Walking Dead. If we look at the mole people in the Joe Classified series, and we look at the Joe comic, and we know that there's going to be a Joe movie. We can see this old 1980s strategy, multi-marketing strategy starting to come again, and it's slowly taking effect, guys. Those comics are sold out. It means those readers are aware. Those readers are looking online at images of our characters that we are loving in our Hasbro line. So Hasbro's got to really up their game. They're opening the floodgates. They're giving you more toys. They're giving you more classified. They're attacking all waves, not one wave at a time, all waves, as we see with Nunchuck's presence here in the line. They're doing it. It's going to go. And they've got a lot of characters to draw on, and we haven't even opened the secret curtain behind how vehicles are going to really show up in this line right now. So this is the, you know, like, we're going to get a larger market. This is taking off, and then it'll burn out like all toys do after a certain time. And again, when classified dies, if it dies anytime, I'm not predicting that. I'm not looking forward to that. I'm enjoying it too much. But if it does, won't be new ground for Hasbro. Won't be the end for Joe. They'll just play the waiting game the way they have over and over again, because patience wins wars, guys. And Hasbro is more than capable of winning that. So my top picks for who the top one I would like to see made into a classified figure out of the 92 releases, for Joe and for Cobra. Okay, so for G.I. Joe, we are going to go with Barricade. Surprise, surprise. I bet you all thought I would say General Flag because of what they did with Hawkeye. No, I'm going with him because we haven't seen a Bunker Buster type character. What we've seen is a heavily armored tripwire for the Joes. If you get over the colors, which I think we would have to, but they've done it, like they want it in the gold, but I think Hasbro guys could do some twists with that gold, bronze, copper kind of thing. But if they did it, and we look at his role as a Bunker Buster, one cannot stop, especially if you played Call of Duty or any of that stuff. The Juggernaut armor, the heavily armored soldier. Yeah, I associate it more with explosive ordnance disposal EOD guys, but slapping some heavy armor on them. This is something that's been working in the video game market because they base it off of what concepts are out there and being played with. And here we are. This has obviously been played with and thought about. So heavily armored soldiers with heavy firepower. I think we find a place for Barricade in the Joe line. I think there's a place for him. And that's my Joe pick. So who's your Cobra pick, old crow? You senile, crazy old... Never mind, we're not going to swear today. But we could have. So I have to go with the less popular thing here, guys. And I'm going to choose Headhunter as my number one pick for the Cobra stuff. Understanding he's not maybe necessarily Cobra, but he's the enemy in this. And the reason I do this is because you had some really hammy versions of him come out for that character in the line back in the day, and I'm just trying to find some of the ham hock of them. Yeah, so this is what the actual action figure ended up looking like, right? So you got Buzzard's ponytail on the go. God. Yeah. All right, we'll just take it off the table so that'll stop swaying. And then you had another version of him in orange, or somebody did a variant. I don't know. Don't care. But he's always looked like a gangster type, and it's always had that hat and mask, and it's always been a little ridiculous. Very comic-y, right? Sorry, that's Ninja Force. But I think that if we applied them to I guess we're several decades later, a place for Headhunter could be found in the current G.I. Joe classified storytelling, right? So, like we have they're developing the Crimson Strike more. This could be one of the financiers or way that Crimson Strike is getting trickle revenue worth noting and represented by Headhunter. So that's my Cobra pick for that one. I just laugh because if I were to pick anything out of the Eco Warriors, I would end up talking about Greenpeace and things like that. And I had some Greenpeace picks here for an actual Greenpeace line, and I took them out after, except for these two. So Greenpeace uniforms for our Eco Warriors, Greenpeace vehicles and equipment. Yeah. Even a Greenpeace pay set if you wanted, right? That's what I think of the Eco Warrior line. But so I did my Cobra, I did my Joe. So what was the vehicle I wanted? Well, I mean, assuming I'm not going to be able to pick the Apache because they've released the HasLab Dragonfly, or they've got that on the brink, and they're not going to compete with themselves on that one. Not now. So, but remember, if anyone asks you if you want an Apache, you always say yes. You take the damn Apache. No, on this one, I'm going to go with one that I think would be kind of cool to see if done correctly. You can get rid of the whole squirting and shooting squirt gun option. The Barracuda mini sub would actually be good for some storytelling to develop guys like Shipwreck and torpedo characters, eels, all that seafaring stuff. Those Navy guys I keep saying aren't reflected a lot in Joe. Like, they're loudly reflected, but they're not repetitively reflected. I think the Barracuda would be an interesting attempt, or an interesting opportunity for the guys at HasLab to re-envision that, but maybe keep that color scheme so people would recognize it. And when we get into mini subs, of course, because I'm the tech guy and the military guy, I got to show you some references on just where these things are being played with and design wise. So I mean, they are out there. There are mini subs. Would it have a lot of play value if you just had a little cylinder with a hole up top and some propellers? Maybe launched a couple things? Probably not. You wouldn't be able to see your figures. So we would have to step into some bolder designs, like maybe this is, I think, a Russian one. It's clearly it's not a long-term submersible, but a short-term submersible, if at all. And then you got the more familiar naval market ones, but again, not many windows in the front, just the one, right? So how do you play with it? And more mini subs, and that's where I'm going with it there, guys. Is it would be limited, but the whole series at this point was presenting some limitations. But I think this is the one Hasbro could do some potential with, and that would be more along the lines of the design they'd be going for, more of the James Cameron looking at the Titanic kind of submersible, where you could see the whole figure or two or three with the big dome effect, but then combining that with some more traditional designs. And I joke maybe we'll get the shark out like this because these are real, and that would be all we expect for the shark at a classified. But that's my vehicle pick, guys. I think that they go with Navy on that. I always mean to say it at the beginning of the show, but I always say it after, the like, subscribe, because I'm happy to have you here. Share if you want to share my videos. Comment if you have anything to say, if you want to have a discussion, if you want to disagree and go a couple rounds with the old crow about opinions, it's fine. You find I don't care about winning those fights. I just care about the points you present. But don't ever feel pressured to do any of that, right? Because they're just videos. I know how I spend time. I don't do that for every video. That doesn't mean I don't like them and like them. And honestly, a lack of likes to a video doesn't keep me from making them. You see that. So what do I care? Guys, that's it for 92. Do I love this line still in 92? Of course I do. I love Joe for all the lines. Just some things are just harder to understand or embrace than others in this line. But Joe, all down the line, is why I make these videos. And it's a daily dose. You see it. I haven't been stopping lately. I keep thinking I'm going to take a couple of days off, but I have so much about this line that I love sharing with you guys, or hearing back from you guys, or putting a thought in your head. A lot of credit to a lot of guys. There's guys that are doing it so right out there. So right. And just contests and giveaways and all that. All the good stuff. And that's ultimately just my goal, is eventually to get to that point where whatever number of subscribers it is that allows YouTube to give you a little trickle of income, or get you a sponsor, or do whatever they do. I think it's an Amazon code. I don't know. I just do that. I want you to benefit from just having a guy that's really passionate and hopefully relatable talking at you about Joe. But I want to get to the point where I can sit there and go, guess what, guys? We're having a contest and you can win this Joe, or this set, or this. And hey, guess what, guys? If you enter this code, you get a discount for this guy. I'd love to get there, but I am in no damn rush. I'm having the time of my life. Thank you very much for sharing your time with me. I'll see you guys again next time on The Tactical Perspective. Take care.